How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, where we are here with Sachi. We had a really good time. We got to follow her around. We also got to test her a little bit, and it's got, a little bit more insight into just who she is. We also got the rumblings of a potential, history between Yuuji and Sachi, which is interesting, because so far, I never got the impression that there might be a potential childhood friend, but it kind of implied that he was thinking about somebody who he was friends with as a child, and either that's going to be really relevant or it's going to be just like a minor tangent. But so far, I feel like this game's been really good about following Chekhov's gun. The idea of if you bring up a detail, use it later in the story. So I imagine that it might have some implication there. But it's interesting because the kid he described, while having a similar aura to Sachi and sometimes, has a completely different descriptor. For instance, she seemed brash and kind of forward and demanding, where now she's the complete opposite of that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And again, we're in the discovery stage where things are just kind of lovely. We're having a fun time. We're just going through the motions. Also, it's blisteringly hot. A lot of places are getting hot. It's summer, obviously, but it's really bad this week here. So I'm melting a little bit, and it's in the coolest part of the day right now, so that's exciting. So if I'm sweating or fanning myself or something, just life, we do what we gotta do. And it doesn't help that I have a little furnace over here that's running in the background as I'm making content. So yeah, it'll be good. Anyway, nothing else to say. Just enjoy the show. Let's see if anything really descriptive or interesting and engaging happens. I think we're just kind of rolling into the summer, which was mentioned at least 1 or 2 parts ago. So, I'm guessing that it's going to be that same instance we had last time, where all the other girls kind of scatter, and it's going to orchestrate some time where we get to spend one-on-one activities with Sachi. So, anyway, let's jump into it. There's no such thing as a woman who hates being complimented. One day, when I casually complimented my master's appearance, she praised me in return with these words. From what she told me, the rule applies even to women who claim to dislike flattery. Sometimes complaining is just another way of reacting to happiness. I mean, I suppose.
Yuuji.
Hello there, Michiru. Your famous twin tails are looking particularly good this morning.
はあ? いきなり何言ってるのよ。あんたなんかに褒められても全然嬉しくないんだから。
Sure. Michiru, whose gimmick is prickly soon attitude, may say this. But she's so happy. But judging from the way she's happily playing with her hair as she skips up the stairs, I don't think my master spoke in error. I'm pretty sure I picked up a knack for this sort of thing unconsciously at a fairly young age. It's not a bad thing to have, really. I did something similar. Just growing up, I remember being told, hey, compliments are good. And so I got into this habit of just looking at somebody, and one of the first things I typically do is I say, what's something that's interesting or appealing or engaging about this individual? And oftentimes I'll just throw it out there randomly. It leaves a great first impression. One of my favorite things is actually complimenting socks. I like it when I think socks can be really fun and expressive. Most of the time they're really boring. So anytime I notice someone wearing colorful or dynamic socks, I almost always comment on it just because I find it really fun and I genuinely enjoy seeing it. And it's amazing how much people kind of get shocked, but in a pleasant way. Especially because it's a weird thing. Maybe, you know what? Now that I'm living in the more modern internet age, maybe it wouldn't come across as well anymore, because now there's this general undercurrent of people who are obsessed with feet, which is really ironic because I'm so the opposite of that. I can't stand feet. I genuinely think they're gross. I hate touching feet, my own feet included, but anybody's feet, I'm just no. It's the opposite of that. But that might be why I like socks, because socks hide the feet and keep them away from me. So it's okay, I like your socks. It's so weird. And there's nothing even creepy or weird about it, but it's the internet, it's gonna make it weird. Anyway, playing outside for hours at a time to escape the awkward atmosphere at home, I developed a sly habit of integrating myself with the other kids through lavish praise. Yeah, okay, so again, sounds like something I developed when I was a kid too. I don't know if it was as calculated. I think I heard from my mom that compliments were a good way to start a conversation and on the right foot, and it worked, and I just kept it up. Awesome, I can't believe you could do that, or you got 100 points in your test, that's amazing, or whatever else seemed called for. Looking back on it, I was kind of creepy little brat in that respect. But as long as I kept up the compliments, nobody tried to harm me. There were even some eccentrics who'd actively play with otherwise gloomy little introverts like me. That's true. For some reason, introverts you somehow, like, none of us know, but somehow you just make friends, and like, we can't figure out how it happens. Okay, watch carefully. Here goes. Yeah! Well, did I pull it off? Thanks. I don't think it's that amazing, but today's the first time I managed it, so I wanted to show you first, Yu-kun. Of course, since I'd always thought of myself as the worthless scrap left over of after the formation of my genius sister, I was probably pretty sincere in believing everyone I met superior to me. I think this is like the second time I've heard him reference his sister. Didn't realize that she was a genius. I think he just mentioned her once.
Ohayou gozaimasu, Kazami-san.
Yeah. And here we have the exemplary personification of my master's teachings. Given an open choice of any reward, Sachi specifically requested my praise. It's probably safe to say she fundamentally longs to be complimented.
それで、今、風見さんの頭の中では、みちる様がどのようなあられもない姿に
Oh gosh, I just really, I read it and it took a second to sink in what she's actually asking here. Good grief, Sachi. I'd love to hear how you arrived at that question.
みちる様を見送った後の風見さんが、何やら難しい顔で考えているようでしたので。
Well, those types of thoughts don't tend to be that complicated. Not really. Let me get this straight. You think a complex expression on my face means I'm indulging in obscene delusions?
はい。
Well, at least she's honest. And sometimes I wonder if she fundamentally longs to be smacked upside the head.
話は変わるのですが、今日のテストも1時からでよかったですよね。
That's right, but like I said yesterday, no cramming for this one.
はい。午前中は昨日のお掃除の続きをやる予定になっていますから、予習をする時間もありません。
You're still making the rounds.
自分が使う場所は綺麗だった方が嬉しいですから。
I mean, that's true, again. With those words, Sachi pumps her fist lightly into the air, still clutching her broom. Maybe it's because she's able to wear this uniform more frequently during vacation, but the girl seems to be turning into even more of a maid by temperament. Well, devoting yourself to volunteer work is all well and good, but make sure you don't give yourself heat stroke out there.
はい。熱中しないように他のことを考えながら頑張ります。
Oh yeah, because pleasant thoughts are all it takes. I think I'm going to need to check up on her later for safety's sake. A little before 1 p.m., a harsh, familiar electric buzz from my breast pocket interrupts my leisurely afternoon. JB, huh? Uh-oh, work it seems.
今、周りに人は
After a moment of faint electronic noise, I hear a low, steady voice on the other end of the line. Her tone is enough to tell me that this is a phone call from my superior, not my guardian. No worries, I'm by myself at the moment.
じゃあ早速仕事の話をさせてもらうけど。
Judging from her hurried way JB speaking, it seems this particular call may not have been planned in advance. Something serious must have come up unexpectedly. Do we have something troublesome on our hands?
短時間の任務だけど、先読みが難しいという点では厄介と言えるわね。
Lots of variables then. In other words, you want me as insurance in case things go south.
ご明察。それで予備役扱いのあなたにも準待機の命令が出てるんだけど、10分以内に準備できる？
I'll be ready in 5.
ありがとう、ユージ。
Don't thank me before a job. It's bad luck.
そうね。ごめんなさい。
Anyway, where do you need me?
あなたは今からメールする場所に向かってちょうだい。そこで一緒に仕事をする仲間と合流してもらうことになってるから。
Affirmative. Placing the black cell phone at the top of my desk, I quickly begin to change into my work clothes. Well, that's crappy timing. I don't have any problem with doing a job I'm paid for, but I had plans with Sachi in the immediate future. And I can't just call and let her know since her cell phone's out of commission. Please be in the dorm. I throw open my door with a little prayer, startling Sachi as she's sweeping the lobby. Well, that was convenient. Sachi, good timing.
落ち着いてください、風見さん。
Oh no.
脱ぎたてのメイド服が必要だというなら、今。
I just realized. He made, isn't there a whole thing, she specifically was like, you promise we're gonna do something. is it just this testing? I feel like it was a little too vague, and maybe that's going to be a problem here. It's like, is he going to break that promise? Sorry, I don't have time to play along with stupid jokes right now.
何かあったんですか?
Yeah, I just got called into work. Important job came up out of nowhere.
ということは、今日のテストは中止ですよね。
As Sachi murmurs those words, there's a clear shade of regret on her face. It's one of the more easily comprehensible expressions I've ever seen from the normally poker-faced Sachi. No, I'm not canceling, but I need to change the plan a bit. I hadn't been planning to say anything of the sort, but I find the words coming out of my mouth naturally. The look on her face probably had a lot to do with it.
それで大丈夫なんですか?
Yeah, JB said the job's gonna be quick, so I should be back in a few hours.
わかりました。そういうことでしたら、私は全然構いません。
Alright, wait for me at the usual place, Sachi. Let's say 5 p.m.
そうなると、少し遅れてしまうかもしれませんが、構いませんか?
Slightly late. She must have some other plans for the afternoon. Fine by me. There's a possibility I'll be a little late myself, so don't worry about it.
ありがとうございます。では、17時にいつもの場所でお待ちしています。
Okay. Yeah, that's the promise. I'll definitely make it.
はい。
After giving Sachi a quick pat on the head, I immediately rush out the front door. Eyes fixed on my cell phone screen, I followed the directions JB sent to me to the letter. When specifically specifying a rendezvous point through electronic means, the instructions are always split into multiple parts in such a way that it's impossible to determine the end location without cross-referencing every message. Apparently, this is a security measure of some sort, but it's an incredible pain in the butt for the person who actually receives the orders. As I draw near my initial destination, a second set of instructions arrives. The map attached to the new email bears a single red dot. There you are. Overlaying the map with a visual scan of my surroundings, I determined the point in question indicates a small public park. This isn't my first time in this neighborhood, but I never knew there was a park here. I met that kid in the park not too different from this one, back in the day when I was a gloomy brat without any real friends. Again, so yeah, like this really, it's doing so many of these like reflexive backs. I'm guessing it does involve Sachi. My sister was a prodigy, especially as an artist, and the most I could ever do was stay out of her way. So I made a daily routine of heading off to a public park and a playground located a few miles away from our house. I went out of my way to choose one a good distance away, killed a little more time walking out and back, and better still, nobody knew I was there. Who I was there. When I was idling around in the playground, I did have to deal with people comparing me to my older sister, and I didn't have to listen to my father's vicious insults. Ooh, sounds like such a fun family. I guess you could say it was the closest thing I'd had to a safe space. But the days spent playing with sand by myself didn't last that long. One day, that girl marched right up to me. I don't remember much of the conversation except for the conclusion. Okay then, let's play together. Wasn't asking either. Without even giving me time to think it over, she pulled me around to that tiny park all day long. She was an unbelievably pushy kid, to be sure. Laughed and smiled more than anyone else I'd ever known. But she asked me more about myself than I ever wanted to tell. In other words, playing with her wasn't too bad on my end either. Before I knew it, I was heading to that park specifically for that purpose. Aww. That's really cute. Of course, that only lasted a short while before that day came, but I think that kid was a major reason I was able to endure everything I was going through back then. If that was Sachi, that's actually pretty cool that he meets up with her again after all that. Okay, this really isn't the time to get all sentimental. As if to reinforce the point, a white minivan with a subtle, different atmosphere draws to a halt a little ways away. Take care of the job first, think later.
はい、到着。お疲れ様。
Sure. Roused from a half-unconscious state by JB's voice, I remove my sleep mask and step out of the car. I appreciate you dropping me off at school and all, but I've got to say, this car is a little too conspicuous, noisy on top of flashy.
そこが羽馬のいいところじゃない。
Prancing horse, is it? So it is a Mustang, right? Because that would make a lot of sense. Don't think I'll ever understand your sense of aesthetics. Well, I guess she's probably not alone. I can picture Amane's eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. Heaving a small sigh, I glance at my side where JB's currently peering through the gate to the school grounds. Looking for something in particular?
ほら、今日は誰もお迎えがいないのかなと思ってね。
Figured as much. Look, JB, I do understand the urge to mess around with my younger generation, but I'd really appreciate it if you could resist the impulse to make my life harder.
何よ。人がせっかく女性関係を潤してあげようとしてるのに。
If you're that concerned about my libido, how about I... Why? Why does he say that?
怖い。青い衝動の餌食にならないうちに、お姉さんは退散しないと。
What a... He's... Out of the blue, he'll just throw those comments out there. It just destroys... It's... I find it unpleasant and it's just ridiculous. It's like, who... I know it's supposed to be there for shock value, but why? Like, it's just a stupid way to do shock. Giving me a little shove on the back as she passes by, JB slides smoothly back into the driver's seat of her car.
それじゃあまたね、ユージ。
Hold it, woman. Or not. JB really lives for these little visits, doesn't she? But since she took me in here directly, I'm back to good 15 minutes before 5. I've had plenty of time to meet up with Sachi. No reason to show up in my work uniform then, might as well change first. When I arrive precisely on time, I find the classroom completely empty. Pretty unusual for Sachi, who makes a habit of showing up at the exact time specified. Come to think of it, she did say she might be a little late. Guess I'll wait here for a while. Okay, she's really late. Half dozing in the chair, I flopped down onto some time ago. I mumble to myself and glance up at the clock. It's a solid hour past the time we arranged to meet. At this point, you'd expect some sort of contact. That is actually that's concerning. Might as well see if any of the others know anything. When I return to the door, Makina is standing by the shoe rack. The instant I push open the door, she swiftly hides something or other inside. I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to tell you not to pull pranks on Michiru and Sakaki, but keep it in moderation, all right?
寮内の誰しもが持っているユミちゃんとチルチルのハプニングシーンが見たいという潜在欲求。
Uh-huh. I'm sure they are.
そこにつけ込む私は悪い女なのよさ。
Truer words have never been spoken. Right, sure. Fascinating. On a different note, do you know where Sachi went?
はい？お兄ちゃんこそ今日はサッチンと遊ぶ約束をしてたんじゃないのよ。
That was the plan, but I waited for an hour after the time we said. She never showed up.
それはおかしいのよ。サッチンはその身をマリアナ海溝に沈められたとしても絶対に遅刻しない女なのよさ。
That is a sentence that I have to say I'm kind of in love with. You could bury her in the Mariana Trench. So I guess you could bury someone in the water, but at least she didn't. I thought for a second she said Marinara Trench, which would have been hilarious, but anyway. Right, which is why I thought something else must have come up.
できることならそういえばと言ってあげたいところなのだけれど、私
Sure you didn't ask her for a favor or something?
今日は見てないのよさ。
I see. This doesn't look very promising, but just in case I should try out other classmates as well. Sorry, Makina, but can you help me round up the others?
あいさ。
Fortunately, the other 3 were still in the dorm, so it doesn't take long to collect everyone in the lobby. Sorry about the sudden meeting, but do any of you have any idea where Sachi's gotten to?
さっちゃん？そういえば今日は午後から見てないわね。私も見てないけど。
How about you, Sakaki?
小峰さんなら3時過ぎくらいに寮を出ていくのを見かけたわよ。
それは本当なのよ。
ええ。制服を着ていたから今日も風見くんと勉強するものだと思っていたけれど違った？
Unfortunately, yeah. Hard to say. We promised to meet at the classroom at 5, but Sachi never showed.
それはおかしいわね。
Agreed. As soon as the words leave my mouth, 3 voices responded in an uneasy chorus. Apparently, I'm not the only one more than a little surprised by Sachi blowing off a prearranged meeting.
あのさ、一ついい？
Yeah. After a moment of silence, Michiru raises her hand tentatively into the air. What is it, Michiru? Some relevant information come to mind?
情報っていうか、この問題を一発で解決しちゃう方法があると思うんだけど、言っちゃってもいい？本当？やるじゃん、ミチル。
If it involves the phone, we have a problem.
まあ、大したことはないと思うんだけど、私ならではみたいな。
I see. By all means, please share your insight with us.
ふふ、 ふふふふふ。
Oh no.
ユージにそこまでお願いされちゃ仕方ないわよね。いいから早く言えよパツキン。
She's just gonna yell really loud.
すっげえ睨まれた。いい？一度しか言わないから。みんな、食いしばってよく聞きなさいよ。
Uh-huh.
食いしばってどうするのよ。ズバリサチの携帯に電話すれば一発解決間違いなしよ。
Utter genius and brilliant minds.
どう？すごいでしょ。ってあれ？みんなしてなんでやっちゃったみたいな顔してるの？実際やっちゃってるからじゃね？嘘。
もしかして松島さんの案ってそれだけだったの？
そうだけど、私何か変なこと言った？
No, unfortunately, it's just the way you presented it. Like it was something like amazing, like achievement of like logic.
変なことというより、その案はみんなを集める前に試しているのが前提なんじゃない？
うぐ。
In the first place, Sachi's phone's out of commission at the moment.
サチの携帯壊れちゃったの？
Yeah, it was discovered diving in the bathtub just last night.
したのよさ。へえ、それはさすがに知らなかったな。
She's slowly running away. A weak attempt at a smile plastered awkwardly across her face. Michiru slinks before our eyes. Shrinks, not slinks.
みちるにしては目の付けどころは悪くなかったんだけどね。
Don't patronize her. She's a goofball. We love her for it, but don't patronize her.
いいのよ、あまね。どうせ私は三島崎一不幸なツインテールなんだから。
You're also probably the happiest, because I don't think anyone else has twin tails.
ずいぶん狭い範囲の一番ね。
まあ、そうへこむなよ、チルチル。人生そんなに悪いことばかりじゃないのよさ。
I guess Makita technically has twin tails. They're just really small.
あんたに慰められると余計惨めになるのはなんでだろう。
Yeah, I know what you mean.
失礼な。私がなけなしの優しさをかけているというのに。
Maybe it was a mistake to bring these people into the discussion in the first place.
でもそう考えたら結構まずくない？さっちゃんと連絡がつかない状況なんでしょ？
やっぱ警察とかに連絡した方がいいのかな。
私たちにとっては一大事だとしても、数時間いなくなった程度では警察は動いてくれないわよ。それに小峰さんだって子供じゃないんだし、この時間から警察に連絡というのは少し大げさすぎるんじゃないかしら。
She's kind of right. I don't know. They're not going to take it super seriously, but it can help sometimes to put in a call just to, like, even on the non-emergency line, just to make a note saying, like, hey, we normally expect somebody to be around. They're not around. We can't contact them. We don't have any like reason to suspect that there's foul play, but it's very unusual. Just wanted to make a note of it in a report just to mark the time, and, you know, if we fail to find her by tomorrow, we'll call back and do a formal complaint kind of thing. Like that can be a decent idea. It probably, again, won't be taken super seriously, but at least it like should show up in the record, is so that in the future it gives, like, if there is a need for an investigation, I can provide a data point, which can be helpful. She did tell me she might be late for one thing.
それならなおさらね。
Nodding with evident conviction, Sakaki closes her eyes. Objectively speaking, her argument is definitely reasonable.
榊さんの言う通りかもね。
Michiru and Makina seem to reach the same conclusion. The group looks silently in my direction, anticipating a decision. Okay, let's wait and see for the moment. If Sachi still isn't back by this evening, I'll get in touch with the principal and ask her about the next step.
そうね。それが一番いいと思う。
私もそう思うのよ。私も。
Man, what good friends. Well, it's also just a testament to how, you know, punctual Sachi is. I feel like if I'd gone missing, it'd take like a couple days for people to truly notice. Alright then. Okay, I'm going to head back to the classroom and try waiting for Sachi there, but I'd like a volunteer to contact me in case she comes back to the dorm instead.
じゃあ、その役は私がやるのよさ。
私もマキナとここに残るわ。さっちゃんのことは心配だしね。
Aw, I like how everyone's on board.
それなら私とユミコは外を探してくるわよ。
勝手に決めないでもらえるかしら。
I like how that implied that Michi like literally bent over and pulled Yumiko out of her chair.
そんなこと言ってどうせ一人で行くつもりだったんでしょ。
それは。
Aww. Since these four have spent considerably more time living with Sachi, there's no question that they understand her better than I do. Considering that, there's no reason to refuse their help when it's voluntarily offered. Sorry for the hassle. I appreciate this.
お兄ちゃんも大船に乗ったつもりで任務を遂行するのよ。
Yeah. Ooh, mission music. This late already. Before I know it, the hour's hands crept past 9. Still no sign of Sachi, no word from the others. This is getting beyond weird and into worrisome territory.
Yuuji!
When I return to the dorm, Amane and Makina jump up from their positions watching the doorway and rush over.
それでどうだったのよ。
No, she didn't come to the classroom, at least.
そっか。
Their shoulders droop simultaneously at the bad news.
私は商店街の方を見てきたけど、サチらしい子はいなかった。
It's interesting too, like, look at that face. It's her serious face, but I also associate that face with Dark Michiru. So I wonder if that's intentional or if it's just an asset use.
駅前の方でもそれらしい姿は見かけなかったわね。
Beads of sweat running down their foreheads, Michiru and Sakaki offer similar reports in identical tones of regret and concern. I see. Sorry to make you run around in the heat.
勘違いしないでよね。ユージのためじゃなくてサチのためにやっただけなんだから。ねえどう？今のどうだったユミコ？
Michiru!
私に感想を求めないでもらえるかしら。ミチルのツンデレ具合はどうでもいいけど、これでさっちゃんが行方不明になっちゃった可能性は高くなってきたわね。
Where could she have gone?
やっぱり地図に相談してみるのよ。
Yeah, you're right. Taking out my cell phone, I dialed the principal's private number from memory.
はい。
It's me. Sorry to call so late.
あなたが携帯に電話してくるなんて何かあった？
To summarize matters concisely, Sachi's gone missing.
小峰さんが？
Yeah, we made pretty clear plans, but she stood me up. Hasn't come back to the dorm since.
小峰さんが約束をね。
There's a slight hint of tension in the principal's voice now. Oh, interesting. So there's something about her past in that. Apparently, we're not the only ones surprised by the idea of Sachi blowing off an appointment like this.
それで時間にするとどれくらいの間いなくなっているの？
The last time anyone saw her would be a good 6 hours ago, and unfortunately, she doesn't have a cell phone on her at the moment.
そう。連絡がつかないのは困ったわね。
That would be why I'm reporting to you, as the principal of the school. What do you think we should do about this?
そうね。
After this brief response, there's a moment of silence.
まずは小峰さんのお家に状況を連絡してそちらの意向を確認するわ。
Seems like a bit of a leisurely approach, frankly.
少し変わっていると言ってもこの学園も国が認める学校機関の一つ。対処の手順は変わらないわ。
Oh, okay, that's fair. Right. Well, unquestionably the correct judgment of the leader of her organization.
ただあなたの危惧している事態を避けるために私個人としての手は打たせてもらいます。
Ah, so that's it. Considering how rapidly she formulated this calm and rational approach to the situation, it's probably safe to trust Chizuru's judgment of the specific details. Guess you're not sitting in the most comfortable chair in the building for nothing.
お褒めの言葉ありがとう。
Okay, I understand what you're thinking in general, but what should we be doing right now?
おとなしく私の連絡を待ってと言いたいところだけどそれは無理な話でしょうね。
Probably not. You imagined correctly. Good job.
これでも6人の学生を受け持つ教育者だもの。
That you are.
ただあなた以外の子たちには夜間の外出は控えるように伝えてちょうだい。
Right. That's probably wise. Reckless action could very well end up in expanding the scale of our problem.
それじゃ何か動きがあったらすぐに連絡させてもらうわね。
Yeah, please do. Cutting off the call immediately, I slide my phone shut and push it back in my pocket.
どうだったユージ？
She's going to get in touch with Sachi's family first and talk with her guardians about how to proceed.
やっぱりそうなるわよね。
Yeah. After all, there must be Oh, fetch. Wrong. Ah, didn't mean to do that. There must be some relatively complicated family circumstances involved if they're sending their child to this kind of school. She promised to get in touch immediately if there's any major developments.
つまりそれまでは何もするなということね。
More or less.
それはどうしてなのよ。みんなで外に出てサチンを探した方がいいのよさ。
I'll handle that.
どうしてお兄ちゃん一人だけなのよ。
私たちが小峰さんを探すと二次災害を引き起こす可能性があるからよ。
Yumiko's got the right idea.
二次災害？女の子が夜中に出歩いてると、それこそ行方不明になっちゃうかもしれないってことよ。ああ、なるほど。それなら心配いらないのよ。私にはお兄ちゃんから習ったスーパー護身術があるのよさ。
Still. Sorry, not good enough.
待ってるのは嫌なのよ。私はサチンが心配なのよさ。
Aw, that's really sweet. Makina's voice is unusually fraught with emotion, and small tears of frustration are forming in the corners of her eyes. She's the same age as Sachi and plays with her more than anyone else. Makina might very well be the most upset out of all of us here right now.
ねえマキナ、あんたの気持ちもわかるけど、今はユージに任せよ。さっちゃんだってその間に戻ってくるかもしれないんだしさ。わかったのよさ。
Clinging tightly to Amane from behind, Makina slowly begins to regain her composure. As long as these two are together, I probably don't have to worry about her doing anything reckless. Okay, I'm going to head out and look for Sachi.
あんたも気をつけなさいよ。最近は変なやつが多いんだから。
Right. Right. Answering Michiru's anxious words with a nod, I walk up to Sakaki, who's been standing a little apart from the rest of the group. Giving her a light tap on the shoulder, I lean in and speak in a low voice. Sakaki, if something comes up while I'm gone, I want you to take charge.
なんで私が？
Because I trust your judgment in a crisis. If Amane and Michiru lose their heads and try and do something reckless, I'm depending on you to step in and stop them.
相変わらずずるい言い方だ。
Fair, but we also, she is, as far as I'm aware, she is the more level-headed of all of them. Yeah, sorry about that. Taking note of the slight redness in Sakaki's cheeks, I leave the dorm at a run, slightly thanking my master for her insight. Alright, first problem is, where do I start? I don't know why Sachi vanished or where she went this afternoon. I've effectively got nothing in the way of specific clues to work off. Given that, my only real option is to speculate based on her normal pattern of activity, but I'm no expert there. Might as well take another look in the classroom. After a brisk journey to the school building, I peek inside the classroom, my heart pounding from more tension than the exercise. It's silent, dark, and totally empty. Not here after all. But still, there's always the possibility that Sachi will wander in here while I'm out looking for her. To protect against that risk, we'll pass each other. I should probably leave a message of some sort. Grabbing a thick piece of paper from the supply closet, I write, Sachi, if you see this, head back to the dorm right away, in large letters with a permanent marker. I also have to say, I hate that sound. Like, it played the sound effect of, like, a permanent marker, but, like, the thing is, like, I don't know why, but that, it makes the hair on the back of my neck rise. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, permanent marker and styrofoam rubbing against itself, or styrofoam rubbing against cardboard for some reason, just make me, I hate that. I hate the sound. It makes me really uncomfortable. That done, I secure the note in the middle of the blackboard with a few pieces of tape. That should do it. A moment later, my personal cell phone rings shrilly in my pocket. That you, Chizuru?
ええ、小峰さんの保護者と話せたから連絡しようと思って。
And?
できる限り表立った動きは控えてほしいと言っていたけど、最終的な判断は学園に任せる。とのことだったわ。
So they don't want a big hullabaloo. They want us, like, they probably would discourage us from contacting the authorities unless we feel it's necessary, but they're leaving it to our discretion. That's at least nice. I see. From the sound of it, Sachi's family does indeed have some complicated circumstances of their own. So, what's the next step for you?
まずは県内の警察署に片っ端から連絡して女の子を保護した話がないか確認するわ。
I see. Same thing you pulled when I arrived here.
え うちの学生はいろんな意味で有名だから話は早いはずよ。
Good to hear, I think.
それでも手がかりが得られなかった場合は正式に捜索願いを出すことになるでしょうけどね。
Right. Hypothetically speaking, if Sachi left a prefecture, a large-scale effort involving sheer numbers and brute power would become necessary.
その間もあなたは一人で小峰さんを探すつもり？
I'm the one who promised to meet up with her. I've got a responsibility to find out what happened.
そうね。それじゃあまた何か動きがあったら連絡するわ。
Appreciate it. Hopefully that'll get us some information. On the other hand, if she comes up empty, we run smack into a demoralizing dead end. Unless, of course, I find a new lead first. For now, that's all I need to be thinking about. Alright, guess I'll see if the others have the ideas about the place Sachi frequents. Attention reminds me of the job, but unlike those neatly defined missions, it's frustrating hunting in the dark, groping blindly for clues. And this time, I'm not chasing down some faceless target I'll never know. The person I'm searching for is a classmate, a friend. Pressing the cell phone to my ear, I sprint down the hallway, trying to drown out my uneasiness through a mindless motion. Dang, this is starting to get actually serious. Oh gosh, it's raining too?
Yuuji!
The instant I push open the front door, Makina and Michiru rush up expectantly. No, I tried everywhere you suggested she might go and all the public gathering spots I could think of, but no sign of her.
じゃあ学園長からの連絡は？
She let me know that none of the police stations in the prefecture are looking after a girl. Nothing since then. Ishka. Understandably enough, the two grow downcast as I speak. Sakaki and Amane might have hung back instead of rushing up to interrogate me, but it seems the news has had a similar effect on them, and I hear small, frustrated sighs from their direction. Even before the words are out of her mouth, Makina's yanking at my sleeve with impatient little jerks.
待ってマキナ。さっちゃんのことが心配なのはわかるけど、少しユージも休ませてあげよう。一晩中外を探してくれてたんだしさ。
We might not be able to. We might be like, no time.
そうだったのよさ。自分勝手なことばかり言ってごめんなさいなのよ、お兄ちゃん。
Hey, this is the best way to be selfish. No, there's nothing to apologize for. That's the natural reaction. Doesn't matter how much time I spent outside, there's no getting around the fact that I didn't find Sachi.
それからユージはこれで体拭いて。
Appreciate it. Catching the towel Amane tosses my direction, I wipe cold rainwater from my hair and shoulders.
それが終わったらお風呂に入って体を温めること。最悪シャワーでもいいから。
Don't really feel like it right now.
気分じゃなくても入るの。いくら体力に自信があったって風邪をひいちゃう可能性はあるんだから。
Alright. Her argument logical, and she delivered it with such painful, stoic expression that I can't bring myself to be stubborn.
雨強くなってきたわね。
Gazing out the front windows into the gray sky, Amane mutters to no one in particular. The rain started falling a little before dawn and hasn't let up since. If anything, the sound of water drumming against the building seems to grow louder with the passage of time.
サチ、ちゃんと雨風をしのいでるといいのだけど。
What on earth should she... Like, what would she have been doing? Like... Was she trying to study and prepare for, like, the test and, like, got caught up in something strange? Like... She's done really crazy stuff before, like left the prefectures or like traveled to like these really random locations. And she brought that snake that one time that she tried to cook up. Like, I don't know, like did she decide to go like diving or out on a boat and get trapped somewhere? I just don't know, like why? It's really weird.
大丈夫だって。もし外にいるとしたら傘くらい買ってるわよ。きっとそうなのよさ。
Somebody break the silence, venting some new concern that pushes its way into their mind. Someone else offers their best attempt at soothing words, and we're left listening to the rain once more. Since my return, we've repeated this pattern more times than I can count. A little after 9, Chizuru also let me know that she'd given formal notice to the police. It's been nearly 4 hours since then. Since we've decided to rely on the authorities, the most helpful thing you can do is keep calm and stay out of the way. The police are fundamentally superior in terms of manpower and investigative skills, on top of which they have a critical advantage of social sanctioned authority. In other words, we can let the professionals take care of the rest. A completely understandable judgment from a principal to make. Objectively, it's probably the wisest possible course of action. But however rational it may be, sitting around quietly like this is proving very hard to stomach. I've spent longer than this standing by on a job, but it feels completely different this time. The anxiety, frustration swirling around inside me seems to be growing exponentially with every hour it ticks by. It's increasingly a struggle to maintain my cool.
では17時にいつもの場所でお待ちしています。
Sachi definitely said those exact words to me just a few feet from where I'm sitting. And when Sakaki and Amane went to her room to investigate, they didn't find any evidence she'd wandered off in some spur-of-the-moment journey. The girl does have a slightly whimsical side, but it's hard to imagine her taking a trip without even packing a change of clothes.
もうサチったらどこに行っちゃったのよ。
Suddenly, leaping from the sofa, Michiru breaks the silence, her voice tinged with something close to desperation.
こんなに心配かけて帰ってきたらみんなの部屋の掃除くらいじゃ許さないんだから。みちる、それにサチがいなくなってもう一日になるし、きっとお腹もグーグー鳴ってるはずなのよ。
That makes it feel real, doesn't it?
さっちゃんが何をしてるにしてもきっと食事くらいはとってるわよ。
本当なのよ。
Yeah, her wallet wasn't in her room apparently. She's got money to eat at least.
それならよかったのよさ。
ただ何かの事件に巻き込まれている場合はその限りじゃないでしょうけどね。
Yeah.
ちょっとユミコ、縁起でもないこと言わないでよ。
No, someone's got to say it. We're all thinking it.
でもその可能性がないとは言えないでしょ。
それは。
Michiru falls back into an awkward silence. Nobody's coming out and said it until now, but we've all been thinking something of the sort. We know Sakaki's right. Considering Sachi's personality, it's hard to imagine she'd vanish without a word, and the completely normal condition of her room makes this even stranger. No matter how much I want to deny it, there's a very real possibility something happened to her.
じゃあサチンは悪い人に連れて行かれちゃったのよ。大丈夫よ。まだそうと決まったわけじゃないんだし。
Unable to fully deny the unpleasant possibility, Michiru's voice grows weak and uncertain. And that's a scary thing too, is like, because remember, she is so kind of passive and go with the flow, it almost feels like she would be really susceptible to that. That she could easily fall victim to getting caught up in something, and then next thing you know, not being able to escape. Michiru's right. As long as we don't hear anything from the police or Sachi herself, we can't make any assumptions. And until then, we need to do what we can. Apparently, the others are just fed up with waiting around as I am. The instant the words leave my mouth, they lean in toward me with an intent expression on their faces.
そうよね。そのためにもまずは状況を整理しましょう。
Sounds about right.
じゃあもう一度詳しく聞かせてほしいんだけど、ユージは昨日さっちゃんとどんなやりとりをしたの？
Yesterday morning, Sachi and I agreed to continue the testing at 1 p.m. as usual. But I got called to my part-time job at the last minute, and I told Sachi we'd reschedule for 5 in the afternoon.
その時さっちゃんは何て言ってたの？
She said she might be a little late, asked if that'd be alright. I don't know though, what about the fact that she like had that odd like despondent like expression on her face? That was something.
少し遅れるか。
教室には昨日から定期的に様子を見に行ってるけど、さすがに少しって時間じゃなくなってるわよ。
そうね。
After that, she just confirmed that she'd be waiting in the usual places of 5 p.m.
待ってるって言ったってことは、少なくとも教室に向かう意思はあるってことよね。
そうなるけど。
Usual place. Could she have meant something else by the usual place?
待って。
Sakaki abruptly interrupts Amane's words, her eyes flashing.
本当にいつもの場所は教室だったのかしら？
Yeah, okay, yeah. I see, that just might be it.
どういうこと？
With that one sentence, everyone, with the exception of the certain bottle blonde, instantly grasped what Sakaki's implying.
そう考えたら辻褄が合うかも。
Yeah, it definitely is coherent, but...
ねえ、ちょっと自分たちだけ納得してないで、私にもわかるように説明してください。いきなり土下座した。
Yeah, wow, she just went flat out to the grovel.
じゃあその役はスオーさんに任せるわ。
オッケー。
After accepting Sakaki's request with a mild, exasperated nod, Amane sits up straight in her chair to explain.
ほら、みちるもさっちゃんがお願いや約束を絶対に守る子だってことは知ってるでしょ。もちろんよ。だから普通に考えて、さっちゃんはユージと約束した場所で待ってるはずなのよ。でも教室にはいなかったわよ。言ってみればそこがミソなのよさ。ミソ？そう、ユージにとってはいつもの場所が教室だったかもしれないけど、さっちゃんにとっていつもの場所が教室だったとは限らないじゃない？
Well, where would it be? Like, is it actually going to go right to the memory? Like, is she waiting at that park? Like, if she was friends with him, was that what she like interpreted it as?
ああ、そっか。
At this point, Amane finally succeeds in shoving Michiru's train of thought down the tracks to the point everyone else has passed 5 minutes ago, prompting an overblown reaction. I didn't explicitly tell her to wait in the classroom. There's a possibility she went somewhere else entirely. Normally, anyone would know I was referring to the classroom, but in Sachi's case, a misunderstanding of some kind seems disturbingly plausible.
なるほどね。で、サチにとってのいつもの場所はどこになるの？
そこが問題ね。小峰さんが今も別の場所で待っていたとしても、その場所がわからなければ探しようがないわ。
そっか。
To be honest, I don't know where she could have thought that I meant other than the classroom.
ねえ、お兄ちゃん、サチは他に何か言ってなかったのよ。
No, nothing else about the location anyway.
じゃあ、サッチンと一緒にいたところを思い出すのよ。そこを全部回ればどこかにサッチンがいるはずなのよさ。
I mean, because barring the idea that I had that it's part of the memory, there can't be that many. I've been trying. Outside the school grounds, the only place that really comes to mind is the shopping district.
だとしたら、まだ見つからないのはおかしいのよさ。
Yeah. For one thing, I thoroughly combed both the shopping district proper and the commercial area around the station.
となると、話は結局振り出しか。
でも考えるべきことは分かったわ。
I mean, that is something.
おうよ、私も一生懸命頭を使って考えるのよさ。
I like the enthusiasm, Makina.
私だってそのつもりだけど、二人で行った場所ってことなら、結局有事頼みになるわよね。
Hey, insights are helpful, but yeah, unfortunately, this does seem to fall on our shoulders. As if on cue, all four turned their gazes toward me. Yeah, you're not wrong. I might be overlooking something here. I'm gonna try and settle down and think things over as calmly as possible.
そうね。ずっとここでうなってるのが悪いのかもしれないし、ここは一度仕切り直した方がいいかもね。
Everyone assents to Amane's suggestion, and we temporarily suspend our meeting in an attempt to break out of this rut. The girls trudge back to their respective rooms. Soon enough, I'm left alone on the lobby sofa, gazing blankly out the window. In the end, I throw myself right back into the problem without even taking time to stand up and stretch my legs. The usual place, is it? The usual modifier means it has to be somewhere she visited frequently. In context, some places that I've been with her on a regular basis. No matter how many times I roll those conditions through my head, the only places that fit the bill are inside the grounds of the school. It's enough to make me realize just how limited our relationship is. Sachi and I have really never been more than classmates. Our frequent interactions are the result of simple proximity inside of somewhat claustrophobic school. Not that any of that is an excuse. So I can't even track down a single classmate without my special eyes and ears. Thank God my master's not alive to see this. She'd be in hysterics. No. If my master were here, she'd probably be angry at me before anything else. Angry that I'm wasting my time thinking about this crap instead of at the problem at hand. That's right. Think. If the general premise I'm working from is correct, there has to be something I'm missing here. This isn't the first time I've hit a wall like this, and Asako, is that his master's name, taught me what to do at a time like this. The concept of coincidence was invented by vapid romanticists as a pickup line. Okay. Listen up and listen good. Things happen the way they do for a reason. When none of it makes any gosh darn sense, stop bashing your head against the wall and take a step back. Let your mind go limp. Just like the proverbial bluebird of happiness, the answer is going to be sitting in a surprisingly obvious place. Surprisingly obvious, huh? Come to think of it, it feels like plenty of things have happened ever since, have happened even inside this birdcage of a school. He's like going on a reminiscent trail through his memories. Good grief, how sentimental. To be perfectly honest, at first I just had her down as a weirdly diligent girl. But after a while, I found out she had a surprisingly amusing side, and eventually I started getting genuinely interested in what makes her tick. Sachi kind of resembles me. That thought might have been the biggest single reason for my uncharacteristic curiosity, but whatever the case, my little talks with her have been leaving a strong impression on me lately. Even so, there's just nothing there. Nothing in those memories that stands out as an answer. Gosh darn it! Tearing my eyes away from the dour gray sky, I glance around the lobby and attempt to distract myself from the unproductive frustration. A bamboo broom propped up beside the entrance catches my eye. Seeing that broom sitting idle by is proof enough that Sachi's not around. It never seemed to leave her side when she's puttering around the dorm.
自分が使う場所は綺麗だった方が嬉しいですから。
Just yesterday, she made her work as a pseudo-maid sound like her life's mission. Come to think of it, outside of the classroom, Sachi's been wearing a maid uniform constantly since the day we met. Holy crap. Hold on, could I be making a really fundamental mistake in my assumptions here? For one thing, if I was wrong about something that basic, the field of possibility grows significantly wider. And when I narrow those down using the conditions I've been rolling around in my head all this time, all of a sudden I've got a completely different candidate for the usual place. But if I'm right about this, there's one point in particular that seems completely inexplicable. That said, we've never reached a total dead end otherwise. I have no choice but to run with it.
あれユージ、また外を探しに行くの？
Just as I'm rising to my feet, Michiru reappears in the lobby, probably stopping by to check up on me. Yeah, I think I might know where Sachi is.
あ、そうなんだ。って、なんて
She's like, oh, really? Wait, what? Like I said, I might have figured out the usual place Sachi was talking about. I'm going to head there to check right away. Let the others know, will you?
ああ、うん。それくらいなら私にもできるけど。
Alright, I'm counting on you, Michiru.
あんたこそ気をつけていきなさいよ。
Off we go. Without pausing to grab an umbrella or raincoat, I rush out of the dorm, sent off by Michiru's earnest, if completely out of character, words of concern. Not bothering to avoid the puddles in the pocketed asphalt road, I sprint single-mindedly away from the dorm. On the job, it's fundamental common sense not to set up an umbrella even in the middle of a typhoon. The rain doesn't even faze me. More importantly, every second counts right now. An entire day has passed since Sachi went missing. 24 hours since she left the dorm. And she may have been waiting for me all this time. She may still be waiting, even now. The festering sense of frustration inside me swells to an unbearable intensity. Where is she? Sachi?
これは自分でもどうしてなのかわからないのですが、風見さんに褒めてもらえると胃の上のあたりが温かくなるんです。
Okay.
私また風見さんの前で気を失ってしまったんですね。
Fainted in front of you again. Yeah, that was an odd comment, wasn't it?
ご明察です。それに風見さんはカレーがお好きでしたよね。
Oh, she is playing the childhood friend theme. Because she knows it's food. Ironic, after all that time going around in circles, now it's like a dam broke. Just as my master said, the breakthroughs were staring me right in the face all along. Sachi gave me plenty of hints herself. My new hypothesis growing firmer with every step, I make my way toward the other usual place. Nothing left to do but see if she's there. How freaking far away is it, though? This place hasn't changed as much as I expected. I mumble to myself, feeling my way through the vaguely familiar streets. And during a several-hour train ride from Mishima Cape, I returned to this place for the first time in many years. Holy crap. This is the town where I was born. In my earliest years before my master took custody of me, I lived here with my parents and sister. Never thought I'd be coming back here, much less looking for Sachi. The only constant in my life is its unpredictability. Slowing my pace, I move carefully forward, guided only by faded memories. The usual place that came to mind when all the reasonable answers failed was a small park. My one and only childhood playground, situated in the outskirts of this town. Here we go. The area around the park is thoroughly deserted, and the streetlights outside are dimmed to an absolute minimum. It's a small playground designed to give your young children a place to romp around on sunny days, so that's all I expected. There's no way anybody would be using this playground on a miserable rainy evening like this one. That would be the common sense conclusion, but...
ほら、みちるもさっちゃんがお願いや約束を絶対に守る子だってことは知ってるでしょ？
My gosh, Sachi.
だから普通に考えて、さっちゃんはユージと約束した場所で待ってるはずなのよ。
I recall Amane's words from that morning. We all knew what Sachi was like. We knew she was bizarrely obedient, and we knew she was prone to making strange mistakes as a result of subtle misunderstandings. But we'd all assumed those quirks were nothing more than a reflection of her diligent personality. We'd assumed she would bend the rules of hers if it ever became truly necessary. That's exactly why I didn't want her to be here. Much as I want to find Sachi, those words spill out of my mouth. And contradictory as they might seem, I really mean them. If Sachi's here, my initial concerns about her behavior were justified. My vague unease will become something far more concrete, far harder to face. Given any choice in the matter, I don't want that to happen. No, I can't afford to worry about that right now. Forcibly persuading myself to refocus on the problem at hand, I finally enter the park. And once inside that dim, desolated playground, my eyes quickly find a small figure illuminated by moonlight. Fetch me! Sachi! Oh my gosh, you crazy lady!
Kazami-san.
So fetch me, child. You're gonna die! The swing set is a tiny thing made for the use of young children. Crammed into the undersized wooden seat, indifferent to her rain-soaked clothes, Sachi looks up at me and smiles. Have you been waiting here since yesterday? You crazy girl. Not even eating in the rain all this time. Gosh darn idiot! It's too much for me to endure. She's just too pitiful right now. Before I know it, I'm shouting down at her.
どうしてでしょう。私、いきなり怒られてしまいました。
Of course I'm angry! Why? Didn't you realize I wasn't coming? Didn't you realize something was off? Why didn't you just leave? Why the hell did you sit here all this time just to some worthless promise?
それは、ゆうくんとの待ち合わせだからだよ。
Good grief. An intimate tone, completely unlike the formal style of speech Sachi usually employs. At that vague and embarrassing nickname, the combination resonates nostalgically with memories rendered fuzzy and indistinct by the passage of time.
ゆうくん、こっちこっち。ありがとう、ゆうくん。
That's really sweet, though. It's also disturbing. Sachi's words. The connections I'm drawing here have to be real. Why would you pick up other people's trash?
だって、次にこの場所で遊んだ時、
Oh my gosh.
綺麗だった。
That's actually really cool. It's really sad, and I am really frustrated with her, but it's really cool at the same time. Like, what an amazing connection. Like, could you imagine actually being able to have this happen to you? Like, randomly find someone you were best friends with when you were kids, but completely lost touch of, and suddenly find that, like, you still have, like, you're bound back together again? So my guess was correct after all. You and I didn't meet for the first time in Mahami Dormitory.
はい。風見さんとは以前、ここで遊んでいたことがあります。
Sachi confirms my words casually, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Of course, her mere presence in this place is proof enough. Sachi, how long have you known?
最初にそうかもしれないと思ったのは、転入してきた風見さんからお名前を聞いた時です。それからいろいろお話ししていくうちに、だんだん そうじゃないかなと思い始めていたのですが、最終的にゆうくんだと気づいたのは、
Aww.
風見さんが初めて私の頭を撫でてくれた時です。
That's really cute. That was enough to convince you.
だって風見さんの手は私が大好きだったゆうくんと
Holy
同
crap.
じ温かさをしていましたから。
Just casually, like, I've always thought that's weird though. Like, I can understand like holding on to a crush from a childhood, but like, you're different people by this point. In other words, Sachi realized some time ago and kept quiet until now. Then why didn't you say anything?
どうしてですか？
I'm asking why you didn't tell me about all this. If I'd known, I might have remembered this place much more quickly, right?
すみません。風見さんが別の場所で待っているという考えは全くありませんでした。
Dang it. It didn't occur to you.
はい。幼い頃の私と風見さんが待ち合わせていたのはいつもこの公園で。ですから、風見さんからいつもの場所と言われれば。
Are you serious?
はい。
So many things happened so fast back then, the details are still fuzzy to me, but Sachi's memories of this time we spent together don't seem to have faded, and this playground is clearly a very important place to her. But even so...
それに家と言われませんでしたから。
Huh. I see. Come to think of it, Sachi's always been like this. Silently carrying out her orders like a faithful robot, never expressing doubt or interjecting with her own opinion, never advancing her own interests. The rare exceptions come only when Sachi judges it strictly necessary. Even then, she's usually just seeking clarification. There's no longer any doubt in my mind. Those rules have to be the very reason Sachi ended up in Mihama Academy. In other words, it's all exactly as I feared.
風見さんはどうしてそんなに悲しそうな顔をしているんですか？
Because I'm sad, idiot. Why aren't you?
そうですね。私は嬉しいです。
Happy?
はい。待ち合わせ時間を考えたら遅刻かもしれませんが、ゆうくんはこうして来てくれました。
Like, hey, you showed up.
だから私はとても嬉しいです。
As Sachi smiles up at me, I finally realize something. The one thing about this girl that truly resembles me is the way she smiles. An artificial thing plastered on for the sake of lubricating social interaction. An attempt to put others at ease rather than reflecting any real emotion. Maybe she's not lying. Maybe she really is happy, but whatever the case, that smile is hollow. How many times have I seen this expression on her face? And I'm only now realizing. Pathetic. No, maybe it's not surprising I didn't notice. I've managed to fool plenty of people the exact same way. It's a skill that develops with practice.
そんな顔しないでください、風見さん。風見さんはちゃんと約束を守ってくれました。だから今度は私がこうする番です。
Raising unsteadily to her feet, Sachi reaches up and brings her head to rest on top of my head.
約束守ってくれてありがとう、
Aww.
ゆうくん。
Oh my gosh. Maybe it's sheer surprise. Maybe some part of me wants things to stay like this a little longer. I can't tell for sure. Whatever the case, my body's frozen in place under the gentle movements of that small hand. Sachi, what are you...
勝手なことをしてすみません。でも私が最後にいつもの場所で遊ぶ約束をしたとき、ゆうくんはこの公園に来てくれませんでした。
I didn't.
はい。でもゆうくんは悪くありません。あの時の私は悪い子で、私が一方的に取り付けた約束でしたから。
She blames herself, but like his whole life
ゆうくんが来てくれ
imploded.
なかったのも当然です。
She has no idea. Like I don't even know the details, but like no, what happened to him was his whole life exploded somehow. Like he needed a guardian. He didn't have parents for whatever reason. And he makes vague references to like that incident or whatever. But no, she blamed herself.
でも 今回は違います。ちゃんと約束をした待ち合わせでした。だからそこにゆうくんが来てくれて、
It's really, really sweet.
私本当に嬉しい。
Sachi! I catch Sachi in my arms as she collapses forward, the last of her strength gone.
すみません、風見さん。
No, we're getting you to a hospital or something. Nothing to apologize for. Don't push yourself.
そう言っていただけると助かります。なぜか立ち上がろうとしても。
Let's see. You haven't eaten? You've been sitting in the rain? Hypothermia? Hardly surprising after sitting through the rainstorm without eating or drinking. At a quickest estimate, Sachi's been in this place 28 hours straight. And I'm willing to bet that she didn't even allow herself to take a nap the whole time she was waiting for me. No matter how sturdy the girl is, she must be well past the limits of her physical endurance by now.
ですが、私はこれから風見さんとのテストの。
You don't need to worry about that either. The only thing you promised me was to wait until I showed up, and you kept that promise. You can rest now.
それならよかったです。
This girl. With those words and a particularly weak attempt at a smile, Sachi instantly falls unconscious. Within seconds, she's gone totally limp, leaving me to bear her full weight in my arms. It's only then that I finally realized just how alarmingly cold her body is. The girl's clearly in bad shape, to the point that she needs medical attention and quickly. Even so, the expression on her face as she sleeps seems genuinely happy, in a way that artificial smile never was. That may be a pretty pitiful excuse for a human being, but maybe, just maybe, there's something I can do for this girl. You're a hell of a lot tougher than you look, Sachi. After brushing a few drops of rainwater from Sachi's face, I pull out my cell phone and call Chizuru. Alright. I think that's a good place for us to stop. We'll kind of get the after effects of all of this, but I think that's a good place. Like, we'll get this like flashback, and we're going to kind of see the resolution of all of this events, but I feel like that's a good stopping point. Like, she's got the help, so like, I mean, things might not be a smooth ride from here on out, but I imagine it's going to be relatively okay. So, yeah. Ooh, this took an interesting turn. I again, it's that Chekhov's gun idea that like it was laying the seeds for this as a plot point, but I didn't think it was gonna dive full bore into it, and it got really to like super emotional, like super like impactful scene right away. I feel like Michiru's path took a lot longer to get to like the really like impactful like soul punching moments, you know. But especially with the shared history and everything, it kind of makes sense that they would have this here. So yeah, that was really surprising. I'm definitely very interested to see where this goes. I didn't think it was gonna hook me quite this hard, but I am 100% here for it. I'm really curious to see how Sachi like talks her way through this, and like, what is she expecting? She clearly talks about how she loves him. So she decides she loved him from when she was a child, and she's just stuck with it. But like, is that going to actually stand the test of time? Like, Sachi's Sachi, but, you know, people are also people. What's Yuuji going to do? He obviously has a connection with her, but I still don't know if it's crossing the line of like an actual like love, but more of a kinship right now. And like, because he sees a lot of himself in her, which is really interesting. And it's kind of cool because I'm guessing we're going to be getting a lot of information about his past. Maybe this route is the one that talks about his history and like his experiences, you know, with his family and then post his family. And I wonder if that's something that he's going to share with her, and maybe she'll have some kind of experiences that are kind of similar. But I don't know. Like I watch. It's weird because like she has the attitude, the atmosphere of someone who's trained, but she also behaves in a way that's like really inconsistent with somebody who's been trained for purposes. So I don't know how that plays out. I'm curious if we'll get to find out. Well, I'm sure we will because it's her path, so I'm sure we'll find out a lot about her history. But I wonder how it's going to like share that with us. Is she going to tell Yuuji stories, or is he going to have to like figure it out like a puzzle? It's really interesting. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. It means the world to me that you're here. I'm so excited to be able to continue this story, and yeah, I'm really curious to see where this all ends up taking us. I've been very, very happy. Like this episode in itself really kind of swept me along. I don't know if it's easy to tell that or not based on like the way I've been talking and everything, but I really got caught up in this. So absolutely phenomenally done. Very well written, and the pacing was good. The music's fantastic too, by the way. That the musical score that was playing in the park just now, very reminiscent of the Fate soundtrack, which is funny because again, I want to play the Fate visual novels for sure, but my first introduction was the anime, which has fantastic music, and so that music really reminded me of that. In fact, it was so similar. It makes me wonder if they hired the same composer because it's so like the themes and the pattern and the instruments that were used even were so reminiscent of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they share a composer. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the patrons and members who make it possible for me to not only continue to make content, but support the content directly. It makes it easier for me to get access to stuff, and it lets me kind of embellish and try and do more for the channel every single day. So thank you for that direct support. But if you're watching this, you're directly supporting. So thank you for that. Thank you for any comments and likes and all of that. It's really fun to hear your thoughts about stuff. And I'm curious too, like, what did you think about the events that leading up to kind of this revelation of their Tide history? Do you think it was executed well? Do you think it was a little too ham-fisted? Was it too predictable? I feel like it was just predictable enough where I kind of called it, but at the same time, I was still really caught up in the story and I didn't feel detached from it because I had guessed correctly. I had enough unknowns. I wasn't confident in my guessing, so I think it was a decent blend. But I could see other people who are a lot more maybe objective, maybe finding it a lot more obvious than me. But that's because I get so sucked into the moment. Even if I see a lot of the signs, sometimes I get so focused on what's happening, I kind of get lost in the reads a bit. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on that. But anyway, that's enough of my rambling. Thank you so much. Until next video, watching me up, see me next. I'll see you there.